Yeah, what is up? Thank you for tuning in. This is Last Call, checking in with you during the weekday. Man, let's just get right into it. Once a week, I like to drop a little video about 15, 20 minutes long about something that is bubbling up in the YouTubeosphere. And honestly, you couldn't help but notice this one was making its rounds, right? And what I'm talking about is the obviously the deadly high school meet, as I have labeled there in my thumbnail. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about this and maybe some of the developments, but especially I'm going to use a website, not a here I go with my old school thinking, not a website, but another YouTube channel to help explain, because I like this dude. If you don't know, a little preview, his name is Dr. Todd Grande. He goes through numerous cases. Reason I like this guy is because he seems to be very objective, very knowledgeable, and not biased at all. So I'm going to get into that and let him do a little bit of the explaining. Fair Use Act. And just check out his channel, man. Again, Dr. Todd Grand. Now, what I'm talking about here, I thought I'd decide to pull up Fox News before I go to anything else. As you see the title here, high school track athlete 16 fatally stabbed at championship meet, officials say. All right, so I'm just going to scroll. I won't play that video. I'll save the video playing for the other one that I have lined up for you guys. But it says, as you know, a 16-year-old athlete was killed during a championship meet Wednesday morning in Texas by a member of another team, officials say. Frisco police confirmed the student athlete died despite life-saving measures. The suspect, 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony, has been charged with first-degree murder. A student from Frisco Memorial was the victim, according to local reports. Frisco Memorial principal Brooke Fesco wrote in an email obtained by Fox News Digital that Austin McCaff, a junior at the school, had died Wednesday. Now, there's a few things with this, all right? As Dr. Todd Grande would explain in his video, it was a track meet. It was raining. And, obviously this thing is garnered a lot more attention because of the race thing in it as well. So what I want to do is play this a little bit. I'm sorry, as I talk to you, I try to work out the technology as I do this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So here I am, and hopefully it works this way. So here we go. There's two spots I'm going to look at for clarification, but this opens it up a little bit and explains it a hell of a lot better than I do. Again, fair use, and thanks for the use. I have used Dr. Todd before, and I just check him out every once in a while because, as you'll see, you'll like the way that he disseminates the information. So here we go with a little bit.
Due to the rain, the track meet was delayed. Competitors moved under tents, which had been deployed in the bleachers. There were separate tents for each high school team. At about 10 a.m., a 17-year-old student from Centennial High School, named Carmelo Anthony, decided to sit under the wrong tent. He sat down under the Memorial High School tent, where Austin was seated. Carmelo's seating choice led to a disagreement between him and Austin. Carmelo allegedly produced a knife, stabbed Austin in the chest, and ran away. The police were notified and started searching for Carmelo. An officer found him in the stadium and approached him. He told him to put his hands up. As the officer closed in, Carmelo said, "I was protecting myself." This statement was made before the officer even asked Carmelo any questions about the incident. As the officer was walking Carmelo off the track, Carmelo said Austin put his hands on him. Carmelo was handcuffed. The arresting officer informed a
So what he'll go on to say is that the suspect would be very cooperative and admit at what he's done. He would also go on to say that he was egged on, or the kid, Austin McCaff, was, and I hope I'm saying his name correctly, no disrespect there. It sounds like kind of two hot-headed situations, but what he's trying to decipher is if there's intent by bringing the knife, because a lot of people are like, well, why is he bringing a knife anyway? Well, if you've been in any high school setting, especially after a few national events, you might understand why some students go with weapons or something to protect themselves, so to speak. Um, the fact that he didn't run and he admitted to what he did right away um, kind of makes me weigh a little more to his side, that more towards his self-defense claim. But there's something else with the self-defense. Of course, we could go back to Trayvon Martin and other several cases in Texas and Florida, surprisingly gun states who have these issues. And we made ourselves very familiar with the stand your ground law, right? In Texas, it's called a little something different. And this is where I'm going to switch over back to Dr. Todd to explain exactly what that is. So please listen as you try to get clarity with this situation.
The police spoke to over 30 witnesses who saw the alleged stabbing. One witness, whose account was corroborated by a second witness, had this story to tell. After Carmelo sat down under the Memorial High School tent, Austin told him he would need to move out from under the tent. In response to this comment, Carmelo opened his bag and reached inside, saying, "Touch me and see what happens." Austin then touched Carmelo. At this point, Carmelo invited Austin to punch him and see what would happen. In order to get Carmelo to move, Austin grabbed or pushed him. Carmelo pulled out a black knife. He stabbed Austin once in the chest before running away. Austin grabbed his chest and asked bystanders for assistance. The police were able to recover the knife that Carmelo allegedly used to stab Austin. It was in the bleachers. Carmelo Anthony was charged with murder. At the time I'm making this video, he is being held in jail on a $1 million bond. Now moving to my analysis. Based on statements that Carmelo Anthony allegedly made to the police, he maintained his innocence. It appears as though he's going to argue self-defense. Some media outlets have reported that Carmelo was charged with first-degree murder, but that charge does not exist in the state of Texas. Texas has capital murder and murder. Again, Carmelo was charged with murder. This is the intentional killing of another person. It is a first-degree felony punishable by 5 to 99 years in prison. Premeditation is not an element of the crime. It is not.
Now, that's very interesting because I didn't look into it myself, but this gentleman, who obviously knows his stuff very well, says that there's no such thing as first-degree murder, but Fox News has reported that he was charged with first-degree murder. So a very interesting observation there as well. Let's continue.
Necessary to be convicted of murder in Texas. There is a defense available in Texas called sudden element of the crime. It is not necessary to be convicted of murder in Texas. There is a defense available in Texas called sudden passion, which is a strong emotional reaction provoked by the victim. If proven, sudden passion reduces the murder charge to a second-degree felony. The conviction would still be for murder, but the penalty would be 2 to 20 years instead of 5 to 99 years.
And 5 to 99 is mostly what news outlets were reporting, that it looks like that's exactly what he'll be facing. So even with this, somewhat the equivalent of stand your ground, it sounds like it's just for a lesser charge, but still being charged with that murder as well. So as you know, you'd have to go through that trial to see if it's eligible for that before you continue with the actual trial itself.
This leaves Carmelo with two possible defenses. One, he can argue that this was a case of self-defense, therefore he was not guilty of murder. Two, he can argue sudden passion, which leaves him convicted of murder as a second-degree felony. Clearly, the state of Texas believes that Carmelo is guilty of murder because that is the charge he is facing. This brings me to the question, was Carmelo guilty of murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that he was guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. Allegedly, Carmelo was in the possession of a knife when he was at the track meet. In some states, the length of a knife is used to determine whether it is considered a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument. Texas is a little bit different. In this state, the length of the knife doesn't matter. Rather, they focus on whether the knife was designed to injure and used in a way that could cause death. Under this definition, the knife that Carmelo allegedly possessed would have been a deadly weapon.
I don't know if you have been following up the trial and what has been said, because often, especially on YouTube, this information that flies back and forth, which is mostly agitated by the race factor on this, misses a lot of the details that Dr. Todd Grande is saying here. The length of the knife, the intent, um, the passion crime as well. All these are so important to help you. I don't believe in getting angry. And after the Trayvon Martin with George Zimmerman getting off after pursuing him, it changed my whole view on how the actual law works. I think the problem in this, we know these laws aren't meant to protect young Black boys or men. It's made to protect or covet the wider majority at large and to avoid that accountability. Not saying that's the case here, but those are more likely the cases that we've seen in the past. Let's hear a little bit more of Dr. Todd and we'll close this up.
Carmelo knew that he was not permitted to carry any type of weapon on school property or at school sanctioned athletic events. What was he doing with a knife? This is consistent with him looking for trouble. Assuming the witnesses are correct about what happened, Carmelo and Austin were involved in a verbal altercation which turned physical. Carmelo sat under the wrong tent, which prompted Austin to direct him to move. One could argue that telling Carmelo to move is not provocation on the part of Austin. At this point, Carmelo said, "Touch me and see what happens," like he wanted Austin to touch him in order to justify a violent response.
For that, I say this, a lot of media, even this as well, as unbiased as Dr. Todd is in this as well. Tell me if this is not happening with you. So you hear, touch me and see what happens. Now, you might see the aggressor saying something like this, Carmelo, the aggressor, saying like, touch me. But what if it's a teenager in this place, in this tent with people that don't look like him? And he could be so on the edge, maybe of fear, that he's thinking that this is what I'm going to have to do, like show no fear. And if you touch me, put that out there and put that out there as a threat so that he might be left alone. But as we find out, he would touch him anyway, right? And provoke physical confrontation. That's the second part about this. Dude, you can't touch anyone. You don't have the right to put your hands on anyone either. And no doubt, maybe this is a good kid, maybe it's not. But maybe the adrenaline of the situation and having your athletic buddies around might feel like you're obligated to do something at the same time, All right, let's do the rest.
Carmelo was looking for a fight. Unfortunately, Austin did touch Carmelo, which was a bad idea. Carmelo responded by escalating the situation and inviting Austin to punch him. Austin never punched him, but he did grab or push him. Again, this is all according to the witnesses. This was a bad move by Austin, but his behavior would not have caused serious injury or death to Carmelo. Simply being grabbed or pushed does not necessarily justify the use of deadly force. Carmelo produced a knife and killed Austin without justification. There was no provocation, therefore, there was no sudden passion. Moving to the exculpatory factors, one could argue that, if the witnesses were correct about what happened, Carmelo was provoked by Austin. After all, Austin initiated the conversation. Carmelo should not have sat down under the wrong tent, but he wasn't committing a crime. He was in a place he was lawfully allowed to be. Austin should have just left him alone or been more polite. Instead of directing Carmelo to move,
Or call an adult, somebody else who's an actual authority. And that's another problem I might have with this as well. Other people exercising authority over this Black boy, which is common and quite frankly, what would you call it? Almost an obligatory duty. Some feel like they have to do on top of, in conjunction with authority, feeling as though they themselves have this authority and are able to carry it out on other citizens.
He could have simply said, I think you may be in the wrong seat. If Austin provoked Carmelo, then Carmelo's statement, touch me and see what happens, was simply a response to that provocation.
Now, sorry, I don't mean to keep stopping here. And that's exactly right. How we approach people, how we talk to people. No, again, not the need for stabbing somebody or to escalate to any violence. But what about being helpful as a human being versus, hey, you can't be here, and this tough behavior? There's, hey man, do you know you can't be here? And it was raining as well, right? You want to get out of the rain. Hey, you want to hang out for a couple minutes? If we turn the corner on that, instead of having that bravado versus being more welcoming, when it doesn't cost you anything for to have somebody sit there out of the rain for a few minutes, you know? But we know what it's like. I mean, adults, university students, they riot after games sometimes. Sometimes at professional games, the fans fight each other and things like that too. So we can't actually expect great behavior from these kids when they're amped up with zero supervision, especially with some acting like they are acting on the behalf of other authorities. But again, these are tough lessons and lessons that we need to know. What do they call it? The golden rule, right?
When Austin physically touched Carmelo, he further provoked him, which led to Carmelo's invitation for Austin to punch him. Austin continued with his pattern of provocation by grabbing or pushing Carmelo. This put Carmelo in fear for his safety. In this fearful state, Carmelo stabbed Austin one time and ran away. He didn't stab him multiple times. He only used the force he thought was necessary to facilitate his escape. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe that Carmelo was guilty of murder? In my opinion, he was guilty of murder with a successful sudden passion defense, meaning he was guilty of murder as a second-degree felony.
All right. And I'm going to stop it there. I mean, that's a great analysis. And that's not even necessarily something I want to hear. But I do like the way that he breaks it down and logically aligns it with that particular state's laws and the actual actions from both parties. Again, if you want to watch the rest of that, I'm going to put the link down in the description. And that is Dr. Todd Grande. And you know what? You'll probably find a whole bunch of things there that you'll like to check out as well. So, Dr. Todd, please let me use your stuff and don't strike me. But on a serious note, man, a couple things that I noticed. If we were a little kinder, if the guy was a little more inviting and just being a human being, I don't know if it's social media and stuff like that, to have to approach somebody so hostile. I don't know if you're trying to impress your buddies like that. I don't know what Carmelo's history is. If he constantly faces some sort of aggression that he felt like he needed to bring protection. And I'll tell you I'll tell you another thing. I don't think that's so unique how kids might feel going to other schools or even in a school setting. Even though there are officers there, resource officers and security sometimes at these events, doesn't mean that history will prove you're not safe in those spaces sometimes. But to know that maybe you have a very violent remedy for those situations and you provoke situations to get into, that's also, in my opinion, very wrong too. So this is just a little bit more insight for you on this case to maybe help make up your mind. From what I understand, Carmelo is getting a boatload of donations to help with his, I believe, $1 million bail. The fact that he didn't go on a rampage, and what Dr. Todd said, he did the crime. He stayed there. He did it once. He didn't overdo anything. He admitted to what he did. He cooperated. That maybe he's not such the criminal or monster that some of the media is making him out to be. Definitely not an angel, though. So maybe there's some sort of resolution that might be able to appease both parties. The tragedy is that a boy is dead. Another boy is dead. Check out my library. It seems like for the last few or couple weeks at least, I've done videos or lives on teenagers that have gone missing or passed away under suspicious and odd circumstances. That is a tough break. So look at this. I am probably going to do a little bit more of this on my live. Definitely appreciate you guys coming out. Do me a favor, drop a like, share, subscribe to my channel for more stuff. Yeah, man, show me that support as I try to do this. Hit me up on my live, probably Friday night, 9 o'clock. Check out my videos, all that good stuff. And let me know in the comments what you feel about this, man. I would totally love to hear. Other than that, man, enjoy the rest of the week. Good to have you. Thanks for stopping out and checking out Last Call. Be good to each other. Peace.